Yesterday, we told you about the president's upcoming escalation of what his critics call the war on coal. Tonight, the EPA sets its sights on a different target in what some are terming its biggest land grab ever. Correspondent Shannon Bream has the specifics.
This is an abomination.
Add Democratic Congressman Kurt Schrader to the growing list of those fighting back against proposed regulations from the Environmental Protection Agency. Rules critics say would give the EPA unprecedented authority over private land. The regulations stem from the Clean Water Act and would define which water sources the agency can and cannot regulate. Business owners, including farmer Jack Field, testified before the House Small Business Committee today and said the real-world impact of the regulations could put them out of business.
I lease all of my property for grazing. This may have a chilling impact, and landowner might say, boy, Jack, I'd love to help you out and lease some pasture, but I'm afraid your activity brings too much liability under the Clean Water Act.
A bipartisan group of more than 200 House members wrote to the EPA earlier this month, saying the proposal, quote, aggressively expands federal authority while bypassing Congress, putting things like ditches, drainages, ponds, natural and man-made, prairie potholes, and other occasionally or seasonally wet areas under federal control.
The greatest expansion, land grab, power grab that's ever occurred in the history of the EPA.
According to the administration's own statistics, in the last 90 days, there were 6,734 newly proposed federal regulatory actions. No agency has more proposed rules pending than the EPA. As to the newly proposed Clean Water Act regulations, the agency says, quote, this proposal would enhance protection for the nation's public health and aquatic resources and increase predictability and consistency by increasing clarity as to the scope of waters of the United States protected under the Act. Many lawmakers are supportive, saying the very reason the EPA exists is to make sure everyone plays by the rules.
So do you really think that we can rely on moral integrity of businesses to not pollute our nation's waters?
Also at today's hearing, the business owners testified that the EPA refused to speak with them about their concerns before drafting these new rules. The period for public comment is now open until July 21st. And by the way, Brett, I checked in at last check, nearly 63,000 comments filed on these rules.
A lot of across-the-aisle unanimity on that.
For once, yeah.
Okay, Shannon, thank you.